2822 Now presents Newsmakers with your host, Jane Ann Bugda.
Hi everyone, welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Jane Ann Bugda, and today we are focusing on veterans issues and veterans concerns in our region, but we're also focusing on my guest, who is an advocate for veterans and usually needs no introduction because everyone knows Judge Tom Munley.
Hello, Jane Ann.
Hello, Judge. Judge is, a retired judge now, Vietnam veteran, and host of our Veterans Views segment seen every day on 2822 News. And Judge, I want to thank you for being with me today because I have a lot of questions about you and about veterans, and I know that is something near and dear to your heart. And, Judge, when we see you every day, we know you were in Vietnam and that, but just tell us a little bit. You were born and raised Scranton?
Yeah, I was born and raised right outside of Scranton in a little town called Jessup, which is about 10 miles from Scranton. But Jane Ann, first of all, I want to say it's wonderful working with you. We've done it so many years together, and it's my honor to be here. That's number one.
And you're someone of course, I respect because I take all your veterans calls. So
Yeah.
we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, and you're so wonderful what you do for veterans yourself. But anyway, it's funny because I was raised in a beautiful household in little town of Jessup. My mom and dad had 5 children, and we never had any money. My mother was a housewife, and my father never made big money. But we had 5 children. We had a great upbringing, just the way we lived. My parents died, unfortunately, in their 50s, but it was wonderful.
But it's nice to know, where you come from, that you're here, that you understand our local issues as well. So then, Judge, you were drafted then. You went to Vietnam. So you were in school. And
Yes.
then, you were in high school. Is that what?
What I did, Jane Ann, after high school, I went to college for 4 years, and then I was lucky enough to get a job teaching school in Jessup High School. The salary was $5,500 a year as a school teacher, and I took that job so fast, and it was after 1 year of teaching. The Vietnam War was raging at that time. It was 1968, 69. And I said to myself, I don't know if I want to go back to teaching school again. I wasn't making a lot of money. So what I did, I told them at the draft board, Jane Ann, that I'm not going back to teaching. Right off the bat, I was drafted. A couple of months later, and I went right in the Army.
And you ended up in Vietnam.
Yeah, and I never thought I would, Jane Ann, because I was a school teacher. I figured I'm a college graduate. There's no way I'm going to end up in Vietnam. I mean, why would I? I figured I'd have a cushy job somewhere in another country. But little did I know, right after I finished basic training, 9 weeks, infantry training, 9 weeks, right to Vietnam 30 days later.
And it was different back then because the conflict of that war was so different. And I think sometimes we forget because as we get older, we forget what our Vietnam veterans went through.
That's right. People don't understand what war is like. People unfortunately glorify war. War should not be glorified. It's terrible. It's sickening. It's horrendous. People get killed, they get their arms and legs blown off. Now, I have to say this, if you send 100 people to Vietnam, only about 9 of us are stuck in the infantry. The other 91 people don't see combat at all, so they don't have it too bad. But the 9 people that go out of 100 that go in the infantry, like I did, you suffer. And I suffered every day in Vietnam.
And right, and people, don't realize this, but then also there was you went over there, you fought for your freedom, and then you come home, but at a different time.
Right.
And I always notice, Judge, when you come home, when you welcome the veterans when they're coming in here for veterans, you always say "Welcome home," and I think that always sticks in my mind. And What was it like coming home?
Well, coming home, Jane Ann, was not a nice experience. First of all, it's not like it is now when people come home from Iraq, Afghanistan, they were honored.
Right.
when I came home from Vietnam, people could care less about us when I came home. And they didn't respect Vietnam veterans. And unfortunately, that's the way it was. It's changing now, but in those days, they didn't respect Vietnam vets. Nobody believed in the war. They used to call all the Vietnam vets names and stuff like that. And unfortunately, that's the way it was.
And I think that's why sometimes, our Vietnam veterans, they have a lot of hardships in their life because they weren't given that welcome home. They weren't given the thank you for your service, welcome home. Do you find that's even when you talk to people?
You're so right. You're so right, Gina. And that's why I'm so happy at this station, and you help a lot, that we do this Veterans Views, because at least every single day we talk about veterans and we talk about how we could help them. A lot of veterans came home. Nobody cared about them. They were forgotten about. They didn't know what rights they had as veterans. They didn't know if they can go to school, they can get jobs, they can get free medical care. And we're helping them with that. So at least that's one good thing that we're doing.
And during our Veterans Voices show, you sat down with a member of your team, Sean O'Shea, who was in a different war, had a different job. He guarded Saddam Hussein.
Yes, he did.
And you both talked about, which I thought was interesting, the differences of being veterans of then and today, but also the same. You both have a kinship that us who have not been veterans, have not had, military experience, don't experience.
Jane Ann, it's amazing because Sean O'Shea, as I said, is a brother in arms. He knows what it is to put on the uniform. He knows what it is to go overseas, which is not easy. He knows what it is to be homesick. Some nights you cry when you think, oh, am I ever going to make it home alive? And things like that enter your mind, Jane Ann. And I see Sean O'Shea all the time. He's a regular on our show now.
Right.
And I'm proud to have him. And he's a great young man.
And he brings a different perspective for younger veterans on our show.
Yes, he does.
Because, we have our Korean War vets. And we still have some World War II ones. We have our Korean War vets, which is another war that we don't, my dad was in that government.
That's
so,
right.
We talk about Vietnam, and now we have younger veterans who who have needs we need to cater to and have experienced the horrors of war.
That's right.
And it's good that you have these younger voices on as well. Not that I'm not saying you're old, but I mean a younger veteran.
No, you're
voice.
right. That's we do have a lot of younger veterans on. Yes.
Yes. Now, Judge, after you came home, when did you go to law school?
Well, after I came home from Vietnam, I tried to get my teaching job back. Listen to this, Jane Ann, I couldn't get my teaching job back. They hired somebody else in my place, and they wouldn't give me my job back as a school teacher. I was going to be happy as a school teacher, and I didn't get the job back, so I decided to go to law school.
We're showing some video of you as a lawyer there.
Yeah.
Some old commercials.
I went to Loyola University, which is a great law school. I graduated from law school, and then I went right into practicing law in the middle 70s, and that's what I did.
And then, you took on another, they're advocating for veterans, but you also did the Law on You on our WYOU for many
Yes.
years, where you answered questions about the law.
Yes.
And a lot of those questions come from veterans.
Yes, I did the Law on You. I started the Law on You at this station, and I did it for several years. And then I had to leave it when I decided to run for judge in 2005. And then somebody else picked up the show. And I guess I know it's still on.
Today.
It continues today.
Yeah, well, you were the front runner for that.
Yes, I was. Actually, I named it the Law on You.
Right.
And I had a friend of mine who gave me the name, actually. Jamie Brazil gave me the name of the Law on You, and that's what we called it. And then I was elected judge, and somebody else took over that show, and the rest is history.
So you've been on how many years were you on the bench?
I've been on the bench 19 years, and that's a long time. But most of the time when I was on the bench, I was here working I still worked at this station. I've been on the air with the Veterans Views now for 11 years.
Right,
Jane Ann. So 11 years we're doing Veterans Views. And Jane Ann, and you get letters, but I have phone calls at my house, phone call, because I don't hide my number. I have phone calls all over. When I see people in the streets, they ask me, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? It happens almost on a daily basis, Jane Ann.
It's the access you give to veterans is amazing. And, by your time on the bench, you also helped with the Veterans Court, which was
Yes.
very, a different type of court.
Yes.
To explain the Veterans Court for
Jane Ann,
us.
that's an amazing thing, Veterans Court. Actually, U.S. Senator Bob Casey, when he was in the Senate, and when I was president judge in Lackawanna County, we took a trip to Philadelphia. And actually, I think we were the second county in Pennsylvania to start Veterans Court. That's what I think. And we help every veteran who if a veteran commits a crime, Jane, and not a serious crime
Right.
like murder
Sure.
or something like that, but if they commit a crime that's nonviolent, rather than put them away, we give them an opportunity to go into Veterans Court. And Judge Michael Barres is handling Veterans Court. Actually, I assigned him to do that when I was president judge. He's doing a great job. We help the veterans. You don't put them in jail. They go to meetings after meeting after meeting. They always talk to the judge. And then if they complete a program, the charges are dismissed. What else can you ask for?
It gives them a second chance.
Yes.
Because, a lot of times, they fall on hard times, veterans, and this is actually, can you guesstimate how many veterans you think have gone through the veterans?
Thousands of them. Thousands. I don't know how many, Jane Ann, but I'd say in the thousands.
And if you see a veteran that has been, that went through Veterans Court and comes back, what are their, how a lot of them stay on the straight and narrow, change their lives?
Not 100% of them, but I'd say in the high 80s stay on the straight and narrow. But you know what, Jane Ann, I want to just say one more thing about veterans. I was walking out of the courthouse one day and I saw a veteran, and I didn't know he was a veteran. He came up to me and he said, "Oh, I see you on television. You're Judge Tom Munley." I said, "Yes." I said, "Can I help you with anything, sir?" He said, "I'm a veteran." And I said, "Oh, that's great. You're a veteran." I said, "Do you watch the show?" He said, "Yeah." I said, I said to him, "Where do you watch the show? At your house?" He said, "Oh, I don't have a house. I live under a bridge." I said, "You're a veteran?" I said, "Where do you watch the show?" He said, "Oh, I go to a bar every morning and sweep the bar, and I hang around there all day and I watch your show." I said, "Oh my goodness." I said, "Where do you live under a bridge?" He said, "At the Mulberry Street Bridge in Scranton. That's where I live." I'm thinking, this guy's a veteran.
Right.
And I said, I'll get you a housing. I'll do the best I can to get you housing. And I worked at it. I think I was successful in getting him a place to live.
And we talk about it, like when you say that, you see the veterans. That's a big problem, homelessness among our veterans.
It's a big problem, Jane Ann. Homelessness among 19 veterans are killing themselves.
Yes, suicide. Yes.
Suicide. I think it's 19 a day, is it?
And I think they're even upping that number, which is
Yes.
unfortunate.
Post-traumatic stress disorder. They can't, joblessness, they can't get jobs. I don't know why people aren't hiring. I even do it on my show. Hire a veteran. They're disciplined.
Right.
They'll go to work. But a lot of people aren't hiring veterans. And I'm going to push that more, Jane Ann.
Right. I know we're going to kind of delve into that a little bit more when we get back, talk about some of the issues and how you want to make sure veterans are not forgotten, how you want to make sure that the legacy that before you and the legacy of our veterans now is continuing on. But we want to say that there's information on today's program on 2822news.com under the Newsmakers link. I'm with Judge Tom Munley, host of Veterans Views. So Veterans Views meets Newsmakers once again. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Veterans Views segments and some more questions for Judge Munley. I'm Jane Ann Bugda. We'll be back right after this.
2822 Now presents Newsmakers with your host, Jane Ann Bugda. 2822 Now presents Newsmakers with your host, Jane Ann Bugda.
Welcome back to Newsmakers. I'm Jane Ann Bugda. My guest today is Judge Tom Munley, retired judge, Vietnam veteran, host of our Veterans Views program, and a very, very strong advocate for veterans in our area. One of the strongest voices in our area when it comes to veterans concerns, and we see that evident every day through our segments, on our Veterans Views segments. Let's talk a little bit about Veterans Views. That's a segment that we tape here. You bring in a number of guests, a number of people join you to talk about a variety of issues. I post them to the web. I field your phone calls. I have learned so much about veterans and different issues that they have, and sometimes it's surprising to me. You know, God rest his soul, my dad was in the Korean War, and sometimes veterans don't talk about things. But how this opens up the conversations for veterans.
It does, Jane Ann. You said it the right way. It opens it up. Now, I just want to mention, if I can, Judge Mark Powell is one of my regulars. He's phenomenal. There's Judge Frank Ruggiero.
Right.
He's phenomenal. There's Sean O'Shea, who's phenomenal. He does a great job. John Baum,
right,
who's phenomenal on our show. Judge Coriel Stevens.
Right.
And we have a new person coming in who is a retired major, and her name is Mary Stepbacker. Well, she'll be joining us. Actually, she's joining us for when we tape it next Thursday night.
So you'll be seeing her, and that brings a woman's perspective from a veteran.
That's
which
right.
Which is always very interesting for our veterans. And Judge Mark Powell, Judge Ruggiero, they bring a different perspective too, talking about different issues.
Right.
John Baum, he was a Top Gun, so
Yes,
he was
he
out
was.
there,
Yes,
and
he was.
he knows the score. So does Sean O'Shea. They bring a different perspective, all different perspectives. Judge, when you started this, how the questions have changed, or what is the number one question you get now?
The number one question, that's a great question, Jane Ann. But the number one question I get is veterans out there, they call me, they ask me, how can I help them get a job? That's what veterans need. A lot of them don't have jobs.
Right.
I mean, I find this amazing, but a lot of them don't have jobs, and they're qualified for it. Now, there's a myriad of questions they ask. How can I get in the VA? Can you get me disability? Can you do this? Can you do that? But the job issue is very important to veterans.
Right. And I remember the old ad campaign, don't forget, hire the vet.
Yes.
And a lot of people forget that, but that is something that, I remember growing up. That
That's
was
right.
like a PSA that we used to run all the time. And it always stuck in my head about that. And, I learned so much from your show. I learned about Blue Water veterans.
Right.
I learned about different programs. That's the other interesting thing, that you come and they talk about different programs they had. You recently had someone about the Wreaths Across America on
Right.
it. So people learn about different things that veterans are doing in our community, and you open up a different chapter for them for people to look at that they may not see.
You're so right, Gina. And actually, it happens every day. Every single day, somebody stops me and says, I watch your show. Thanks for that information. Can you talk about this? Can you talk about that? And I make sure we plan the shows to talk about that. I talked to Judge Mark Powell about it. He helps me prepare the shows.
Right. And I know when you talk about, you're a very strong, there's not a day goes by that you're not speaking someplace or someone is
Right.
asking you to speak. How important is it to be an advocate for veterans, for getting out there to talk to the veterans?
You know what, Jane Ann, that's a great question. I never golfed. I never played tennis. I never did anything in my adult life except work for veterans. That's all I ever did. Once I got out of Vietnam, I said, I'm going to go to law school, spend my life practicing law and helping veterans. So that's what I do. That's what I try to help. If I can help a veteran every couple of days, that's a good thing. So I try to do it. And sometimes I'm successful, sometimes I'm not, but I try. And it's so good to have the veterans know somebody's out there trying to help them. That's why I have to give you in this show credit, 28 and 22, for giving us the chance to talk to veterans, to let them listen to what we have to say, to tell them that we can help them with all their problems. And we've been helping them.
Right. And sometimes it's something simple as telling them, here's a place for you to go for recreation. Here's a place for you to go to find, if you're looking for housing, or if you're looking for medical advice. And that's the things that I find interesting about Veterans Views, because you're telling people information. And, sometimes you sit at home and you're thinking, just the average person, where do I go? Where do I look? You're kind of like a one-stop shopping for our veterans.
Yes.
And, we're showing the number. If they call the number, you get a voice, and it comes to me. I forward it to the judge, and let me
Yes.
know. You answer, everybody. We
Yes.
get emails. We forward. It's either you, Judge Powell, Judge Ruggiero,
Yeah.
looking over the question and then helping people along the way. Judge, when we talk about veterans and we talk about our young people, do we teach? I know you were a teacher. Are we teaching enough about our wars? Are we teaching enough to remind our students in school about World War One, Two, Korea, Vietnam?
I don't think we are, and I have to say this. Actually, my friend and I approached University. Well, I had my friend approach University of Scranton. We want to teach a class about the Vietnam War. We want to teach students, because I don't think they're learning enough about these past wars. Like a lot of high schools, Jane Ann, don't even teach civics anymore. They don't even learn about what kind of government we have, how the government operates. I don't know why they're doing that, but that's what's happening. I want to keep the veterans in students' minds so they know what they did for this country.
And a lot of our young people may not realize the opportunities they can get once they join the military. And that's something you sometimes talk about too, about
Yes.
recruiting and getting people involved in the military.
Jane Ann, we talk about that all the time. You go in the military, you have they're starting out with salary about $20-some thousand a year for every branch of service. You have free housing, you have free medical care, you have free. You can get free insurance. I mean, they do amazing things besides the salary. You get a 4 or 5 week vacation a year. It's pretty good for somebody.
And educate yourself and move on.
And
yeah.
that's right, Jane. And you could get an education, move on, and it's a lot. There's a lot of things that could help veterans if they go in the service. And I told people, if you can't find work or anything, look into the service. You have a good chance of making something.
Judge, what kind of program or resources would you like to see here in northeastern and central Pennsylvania? Either enhanced or something new to help veterans.
What we need for veterans, and we need more housing for veterans. I can't understand why we're not allocating more money for veterans housing. Veterans, like in Lackawanna County, we have one place for veterans for housing. Monroe County, we have one place. But we need more than that, Jane Ann. We have to get places for these veterans. You let them stay there a year until they get on their feet, and then somebody else would move in. But the veterans need help. And in my opinion, they're not getting the help they need.
How about for mental health services? Do we have enough for that for our veterans?
Mental health services is improving a lot. I tell everybody on my TV show, you have a problem with mental, if you have anybody in the family want to call, call, the VA has a mental health section. They will set you up with a psychologist or a psychiatrist to help these mental health veterans. The veterans with mental health problems get help, because a lot of them feel nobody cares about me. And you know what, Jane Ann? I said to myself, I'll never rest until we have a day where not one veteran commits suicide. But a lot of them do because they think they can never get help.
Right.
But I'm telling all the veterans, we could get you the help. All you have to do is call Jane Ann at the station. She'll call me. I'll call Judge Mark Powell or somebody else. We will get you the help you need. Please don't give up. That's
Right.
all I'm saying.
I think that's important to note, that we don't want veterans to give up, that they know that there are places to help you, and there are resources out there to help our veterans, and that you express that in your program and through the many other veterans resources that we have out here. Sometimes I get amazed when I see some of, like, I know the Valor Clinic sometimes hosts the stand down, and they help them veterans would close, and just the number of people
Right.
the amount of people coming out there for that. I think there is a lot of people that are support the vets, but I think we need to bring a little bit more awareness to what veterans what they've served.
Exactly, Gene. And you know what? I might be mistaken, but I think Channel 28 and 22, I've been doing this 11 years, might be the only station that does this for veterans on a daily basis. I don't think any other station in the country does it.
Right. I think you're right. We might be uniquely something that does
We're
that.
only one that's doing it.
And then, of course, we do an hour program once a year
Yes,
that
right.
highlights all the different stories
That's right.
of our veterans. And it just touches me because when you look at it all together and you see all these different programs and these different resources and these veterans who are out there saying, "We're still here. Help us.
Help us.
Bring us awareness, and and keep it alive in schools."
Gene, I'm going to do my best with your help on my show, and you put me on your show also, and I appreciate that because we're going to keep pushing to help veterans, and we're not going to stop.
And you're not going to stop. And we do have information. We've been running the number and running the website. Information on today's show with Judge Munley will be under our Newsmakers link on 2822news.com. It'll also be on the Veterans Views link and the Veterans Voices link. We want to, Judge Munley, thank you so much
Jeanette,
for
thank
what you
you.
do. I respect you, and I thank you for what you do every day for our veterans. Shout out to Tony Gargiola and Matt Gronsky for helping with the show, and Joey Nardone on the board. I'm Jane Ann Bugda. Thank you for making Newsmakers part of your day, and we'll talk again soon.
2822 Now presents Newsmakers with your host, Jane Ann Bugda.